Hey everyone, Gary Simon here of Corsetro, and I almost didn't do a video today, but I've been on a roll. I wanted to get one done, and I only have I have to leave in 30 minutes. So this is going to be just a real quick tutorial, something I wanted to cover because the last 2 days I've been focusing on doing this font design stuff. It's probably the last I'm going to be covering for a while, but in the time-lapse video from yesterday, I did this, I showed this, basically this graphic right here that I did, and I'm sure some of you are wondering, how did he do that there in Photoshop? So I'm going to show exactly how I did this. It's actually extremely simple. You can use this font that I created. This is the font that I used as the basis for this, but you can use any font really for this. Okay, so let's go ahead and minimize that. I'm in Photoshop right here. Oh, but real quick, before we begin, make sure you check out my site, Corsetro.com, where you're going to find a bunch of courses on modern design and development. A lot are free, and the others you can access for the cost of buying me like a 6-pack each month. That's it. Now, also, it probably wouldn't hurt to subscribe here on YouTube, and be sure to make sure the notifications are turned on. All right, let's get back to it. And if you want a 4K res, something like this, 3840 by 2160, that's my desktop resolution. You can go with that if you wish. All right, so I'm going to hit create, and I already got my 3D panels and up and all that crap. So just the very first thing to focus on, let me just color in the background, maybe just a mid-gray. The reason I'm doing that is just so I can see easily, sorry, my dog's barking in the background, just so I can see easily the text that's on front, especially when we get into 3D. All right, just had to pause because I put the dog in the basement. Okay, so we want to take the type tool. And again, if you want it to be absolute center, then, sorry, I just collapsed this tab space over here. Then what we want to do is take the type tool. We'll left click and drag all the way from the left to the right. And this is just one way to center up some text. Then we'll just go ahead and make sure this is centered up here and type whatever it is that you want, whether it's a logo or some type of title for something. I'm just going to do the same one I did before, slasher. All right. And of course, it's not caps. There we go. And then we'll get our size up correctly, whatever we want. I don't know, what's 400? Yeah, maybe a little bit larger at 600. I'll go 550. All right, cool. And then we'll choose the font. Of course, I'm going to use the Slasher X font as I named it, Slasher X Bold. And of course, if you want to know how to create a font, just look through the previous 2 videos. I'll try to remember to put it in the description, although I probably will forget, so you just have to look at the channel. So now we have it all. Oh, by the way, you can use these alignment features here to line them up, center and horizontal, whatever. So once you have the type exactly as you want it, then what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and just go to filter and, we'll go to 3D rather. I'm always going to filters. New 3D extrusion from selected layer. Make sure that your slasher here is selected. And I'm going to choose no for would you like to switch to the 3D desktop. All right, then all this crazy stuff's going to come up. Don't worry, don't be scared too much. I'm going to move this stuff over here. And what is basically happening is that we have now transformed this essentially into a 3D layer. And there's a lot of options that we can get into here when we're messing around with this. But just to keep it simple, we have extrusion depth, and that's probably one of the first things you're going to want to adjust, and that basically adjusts how far or how thick the letters are, or wide, or whatever you want to call it. So if we bring this down a notch, you can see how it adjusts right here. I think that's pretty good right there, around 3.1 inches. And then the next thing to worry about is the 3D panel right here. And this, again, if you've never seen the 3D panel stuff from Photoshop, it's going to be a little bit complex looking, but under Slasher, we have a bunch of different materials. So we have the front material, and it will kind of isolate it here so you can see it's selecting the front. It has the front bevel material, which we don't have a bevel right now. So if we go back to Slasher, in here in the properties, we see the shape preset. Then you have all these different shape presets, and you notice when we click it, it will adjust or change the appearance of the bevel. So you can see there's a slight bevel here based on that initial preset. We also have this one right here, and this is the one that I used for the basis of that that wallpaper I designed. But you can just go scroll through these and experiment. These ones get really crazy though, but they have specific. Are you kidding me? They have specific use cases. I'm trying to talk fast because I need to go soon. But we're just gonna choose this one, and then when we choose the front bevel material right here, it's going to isolate. It has it kind of like in this black outline. And you can adjust based on whichever ones you're choosing. You could choose the diffuse, the specular, the illumination, all these different colors. And then there's a bunch of different values like shine, there's reflection, and it kind of gives you a preview. And there's also presets that you can use for all this. As you can see, if you want to make it gold, you know what? Let's make it gold for the hell of it. I don't even care. I wasn't planning on it, but we'll see how it turns out. So that's what it looks like now. That's actually pretty freaking sweet. I like that. We'll leave it like that. So then if we go to environment, you also have a lot of other settings that you can, in your free time, you can experiment with, but I don't want any shadows. So we're just going to turn the shadow off. We don't want it to cast a shadow at all. So ground plane, opacity, just 0. We don't want our ground. We just want the text to be 3D, and that's that. Scene, if there's anything else in here, nope, nothing I really want to adjust. We have our single infinite light source. So if let me move this off here. If we adjust this and rotate it around, we can see how it quite dramatically affects the appearance of the composition. So coming back here to the 3D, if I want to choose the extrusion material, which is the part that's extruded right here, and we can make adjustments. I have all these panels all over the place. And I kind of I think I might want to make it a little bit lighter, or maybe I'll just experiment with one of these presets over here just for the fun of it. Like what happens if you choose this one? Yeah, it's a little bit lighter. I kind of like that. So we'll stick with that. All right, so that's all we're going to do in terms of messing with a 3D. Of course, there's a lot of other things you can do, but again, just experiment and you'll slowly learn just by repetition. So I'm going to close this out, and then I'm going to, in our layers panel, once we're ready, and you may want to right click and just duplicate this and then hide it in case you want to come back to it. We're going to right click and then just choose render 3D layer. Now, this is going to take a little bit of time, also depending on the complexity of the type or whatever object you've turned into 3D. But down here, it will give you a progress bar. Sometimes it could take like 30 minutes or more. You don't have to wait all the way, but what it's doing is refining it. It's trying to get the grain out. If you're fine with a little bit of grain, it not being perfect, then you can always just hit escape and it will leave out, it'll basically just show you what exactly it has or up to that point. So you can see the level of quality that it's already at. So I'm just going to pause and wait for this to go a little bit more just so it's a little bit more refined. All right, so I don't want to wait around too long. I have to leave soon. So I'm just going to, it's at 12%. I'm fine with this, just for the purpose of this tutorial. It looks fine to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit escape, and then we'll just right click and choose rasterize 3D. All right, so now we have our two separate layers, our background and our 3D. This is what it looks like. Pretty awesome just for a couple minutes of work, really. So now let's work on the background and try to maybe give this shadows or do something to make it really look unique, basically, consistent with what I did in the wallpaper. So of course, at this point, you can go so many directions in terms of being creative. So the way I'm going to go is I want to kind of like a rock background, some type of just rock texture background. So one great place to go if you just want to search for images that are 100% free for you to use and modify is just go to images.google. There's a lot of other sites you could that are specifically dedicated to this purpose, but this will just kind of aggregate a lot of them in, obviously one location. So go to images.google, type in something like rock texture, and then you can go to, this part's real important because you don't want to use something that's copyrighted. You want to go to tools, usage rights, and labeled for use with modification. Now, all of these are basically going to be free for you to use. You may want to check out the specific link just to make sure you're able to. But the one that I found that I'm going to use, and I forget the exact search term that I used for it, it's basically on pexels.com, I think it's called, is this photograph right here. It's like a rock texture. So what I'm going to do is just drag this here into the composition, scale it up, holding Shift and Alt. Right around there looks good. We'll choose the select tool, just apply that. And now let's make some further adjustments to it because it doesn't look that good. So we'll go over here to our layers and right click and just, we're going to, what are we going to do? We're going to rasterize it. And then we're going to make some adjustments here just to the appearance. So we could, let's put this over here real quick. And let me close this tab group right here. All right, so with this selected, a good way of doing a non-destructive way would be go to Windows, and then we can go to, we'll do, adjustments. And then we'll choose, let's try brightness and contrast first. Make sure it only applies down to this layer. So we choose this icon right here, and then take the brightness of just of the background, and just take it down quite a bit. All right, so I kind of like that, maybe a little bit more. Kind of like that. All right, so then what we can do is close this tab group. Now let's make it look like it has a shadow. So there's different ways you can approach this. I'm going to right click. I'm just going to duplicate this. Oops, I messed up the name there. And I'm going to put it to, we'll leave it at the top. And I'm going to go to, now I'm going to double click this first to get up the layer styles. We'll go to drop shadow. All right, so we can see the shadow. We wanted to give it a greater distance and the size to be larger, something like that. Now that works out, but we can make it a little bit better looking. So I'll show you how. So I'm going to hit OK, and then I'm going to right click, and we're going to rasterize the layer style. So now it's baked into the actual pixels there. And then I'm going to double click once again to get up the layer styles. I'm going to choose color overlay right here. Leave it at black at 100% at normal blend mode. We'll hit OK. All right, so now it's this weird looking thing. I'm going to drop it beneath the original layer right here. And then we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. And we have it up at like nearly a 45-degree angle. I'll just put -45 just so we're specific. And really push this distance up. Right around, I'm just experimenting right now. Yeah, around 351 pixels. Sorry, my voice is messing up. And then we're going to move it up to the left a little bit. So it looks like there's light coming from down, because if you recall, we did have the light source coming from up and that way. All right, so that looks good. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. All right, great. So now at this point, we can, you can do other things, anything that might be relevant. For instance, let's see. I did have like kind of blood spatter before, like this. So you may be wondering, how the hell do you do that? So let's go ahead and we want to isolate this front material face as it was referred to when it was in 3D. And so with that layer selected, I'm just going to take the magic wand tool, and it looks to be pretty much the same shade of dark gray across. So if we select this, it'll only select one layer, but if we take off contiguous or uncheck it and select it again, it's going to select everything here in that layer of the same color, basically, with a tolerance of 4. That's important. It's going to select pretty much just that face only. So when we do that, then we can, I think we'll use a new layer for this. So Control-Shift-N, got a new layer there. We'll use the paintbrush tool, and notice we have like a blood spatter thing already ready. So to get custom blood spatter brushes, again, just Google's your friend. Type in Photoshop blood spatter brush. There's tons of them. You can see I clicked on this one from Brush Easy. I think this is the one that I used. Yeah, this one right here. I think it was, are these high resolution? Well, you want one that's going to be a high resolution if you're working with a document that's like 4K res. So just look around. Yeah, this is actually the exact one. They're 2500 pixel brushes. So with this selection here, and if you don't want to see the selection when it's selected, hit Control H. and that goes away. You can toggle back on with Control H again. And let's choose like a red color, obviously. I'm just going to go straight up red. And how's that? Okay, that looks kind of not cool, actually. What we'll do is something different. Instead of having a selection, what we'll do is Control H, we'll do Control D to deselect. We're going to delete this layer, Control Shift N, use previous layer to create a clipping mask. Now it's just going to go over the whole logo, and that may not look good because it's covering up the bevels, but the real cool part is blend modes are your friends. So with this selected, we're going to choose a blend mode. Just click it again. It's currently highlighted. Once you see that little blue thing around it, we can use the keyboard down arrow key to start going down and seeing if there's any type of blend mode that catches our eye, that gives us a look that we want to, essentially. This might be a little bit more difficult simply because I wasn't working with this gold before. All right, so this is us up close here. Let's see here. All right, so that's the normal. It's just covering up everything. This might actually not be bad. Sometimes if you right click and duplicate them, you'll get a different effect, but not in the case of multiply. You can see there's minute differences between some of these. I like color burn the most so far. This is kind of bright. This is pretty cool here. If I right click and duplicate that, it comes in a little stronger, so we can just kind of dial it back a little bit more. And then of course, if you wanted to, you could always take, for instance, the eraser tool and maybe set it at an opacity of like 50%. And kind of just tear away from this a little bit. And by the way, we can just hide that initial one. So just along the edges that are kind of beveled, or the extrusion section, we can kind of erase that a little bit. And again, this is entirely up to you. It would be fine just to leave it how it was almost. All right. And so then I'll delete this one and just replicate this one. So duplicate. The bottom one is 100%. All right, so coming out. Yep, there we go. That's basically what I did to create that effect. Now there's another thing I did. I wanted to show you real quick, where it kind of has like this red that's kind of, it's like a gradient almost. It's just coming up over everything. There's multiple ways you could achieve this. We could, for instance, let's see here. Can I merge this? I think I'll just merge this for now. I'll be destructive about it. I'm going to right click and, well, yeah, we could just do this. We could do a layer style, I think, just to achieve the same thing. We could do a gradient overlay. All right, so click on gradient. We'll do this second preset where it has a red to transparent. It's at 90-degree angle. And then the blend mode, same thing. Select it, down arrow right here. That looks pretty cool. Multiply. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with the, yeah, there's been like 5 or 6 that I think that look really cool, and it give you a lot of different effects for this. I'm just going to choose one and not be too picky here. Yeah, I'll choose that one. And then, of course, if you think it's too much, you can dial it back a little bit with the opacity. Oops, not the gradient overlay opacity, rather, over here. There we go. There we go. And there you go. And then finally, if you want to make some other adjustments to the composition as a whole, you can use your adjustments. And it brings up this massive window over here. And then you could change, you know, the brightness, or if you want to add a photo filter, which is kind of a common technique to the whole thing to warm it up, like this color. This is a warming filter. We can take the density up. You can see how it's kind of just giving everything an overall tint, which is pretty cool. You could do that, and you can keep on adding these adjustments as you wish. And there we go, guys. So hopefully you learned a lot. This is obviously a powerful technique that can really create a dramatic appearance very easily with Photoshop's 3D tools. All right, I have to head out now, so I will talk to you guys later. As always, make sure you subscribe, give a comment, and check out coursetro.com. All right, goodbye.